Hello everyone! Good morning on this beautiful day, and today I wanna talk a little bit about all the new cards revealed so far. We have had quite a little bit of cards out now, and now that almost half of the cards are getting revealed, we start to get quite of a good image of all the cards, and I wanna talk with you about all the cards and what I think are the best cards of the expansion. The first card that we are gonna catch up with is the Tip the Scales. It's an 8 mana Murloc Paladin card. Summon 7 Murlocs from your deck. Well, that's a lot of Murlocs. 8 mana, summon 7 Murlocs from your deck. Obviously, you're gonna have to run a very heavy Murloc deck, otherwise you just don't have 7 Murlocs in the deck. But with 7 Murlocs, it's definitely possible to just completely take over or win the board, what is very strong. And I think this card is having a very high potential. It really reminds me on Anything Can Happen, what used to be a Paladin card as well for 10 mana. That resummoned a lot of Murlocs. There's a lot of combos possible with, let's say, Bluegill Warrior, War Leader for face damage, and some more. The hard part might be that you need to have still 7 Murlocs in the deck, so your deck has to be super Murloc heavy. That's where maybe some of the weaknesses as well. But it's a very reasonable card, and if there are any more good Murlocs coming out, it is gonna be a very strong card. Next up, the legendary here for the Rogue, and a very interesting legendary. It is Anka the Buried. 5 mana, 5/5 Battlecry. Change each Death Rattle minion in your hand into a 1/1 that costs 1. And there are a lot of things possible with this card. The first thing that of course comes in my mind is that Rogue can maybe suddenly go for a Mechatoon approach. What if you just play Mechatoon, you play yourself the Anka, your Mechatoon becomes a 1 mana 1/1 for just 1, and you suddenly can backstab it, or you can even kill it in other ways. A lot of other cool synergy in that is also if you can combine it with Mira's Unstable Element. That's already super strong. You can just get rid of your deck, you draw the combo pieces, and then you just win. Of course, that is maybe at some point not so that of a consistent plan, but also just a very solid is when you just hit this on Death Rattle minions. If you get a Karen going, that is just suddenly a 1/1, or just maybe some Reborn minions that are going to be very good from 1 mana 1/1. You can even consider the Witch Doctor or the 8 mana Doctor, where you just heal for 8 suddenly. That just is so cheap then, and then you actually have some heal in Rogue as well. Lots of possibilities, and the stat line, guys, it's a 5 mana 5/5. The stat line of this card is already so good, and it has so high potential. This card is very strong. Mechanical Whelp is another example where I think that is going to see a lot of play. The card is very strong, guys. I think this is a 4-star card. Next up, Arcane Flark Mage, 2 mana 3/2 Mage card. 2 mana 3/2, well, it's already a very solid stat line. Then, after you play a secret, deal 2 damage to all enemy minions. For a 2 mana card. I have no idea how this card came in the printing, but the effect of this card for 2 mana is incredibly strong. The biggest problem is that Mage secrets are very bad. You kinda don't want to run them, they're quite expensive. So that's a little weakness. But man, this card is good. This card is very good. You cannot say this card is bad at all. It might be that Secret Mage or Tempo Mage is just not good enough. But this card is a very solid card, and you're definitely gonna play this in all these kind of decks. The question will still be I am not sure if Secret Mage is gonna be good enough. This card is gonna be very good in that deck, but it's not oh, now suddenly Secret Mage is the nuts. It kinda reminds me a little bit on Dustbreaker as well. The super strong card that really carries the deck a little bit around, but the archetype needs to be solid as well. And I think there are options, but it might need a little bit more support still. And next up is Cloud Prince, another one that really is fitting in this secret archetype that we are getting here from Mage. The 5 mana 4/4 elemental as well. Battlecry, if you control a secret, deal 6 damage, guys. Wow. It's like a fire elemental for 1 mana cheaper and dealing double the damage. It's so much damage. And do you know what you can also do with this card, guys? You can hit face. You can just hit face for 6. It's a fireball in a way for just 1 more mana, but then you have a very solid body. Very good. Very good card. Again, like another card that is for sure on a high power level. Of course, the question is still like you are required to play secrets and to have secrets on the board. There are some good synergies. I think just in general, the Keysmith is a very good card. 4 mana 2/2 summons a secret on the board. Very flexible as well in matchups. I think that's a card that is going to be super key around this archetype, especially because it doesn't seem to be like an aggro archetype. It's more a mid-range archetype where you kind of then want to take over the board. So I think the card is very good, and I definitely think you're going to see it quite some play. But yeah, it will still be a little bit more, like can this deck, it will struggle against Warrior, for example, this deck, because Warrior doesn't care about 2 damage AoE, and just an extra fireball is not enough. So it will be maybe a little bit tough in that way, but this card, guys, this card is good. It's a good card. Next up, Splitting Eggs. 4 mana, 3/2, summon copies of your totems. 4 mana, 3/2 weapon, 5 Warwick stats, and then Battle Cry, summon copies of your totems. If we are not gonna get support, guys, towards the Totem Shaman archetype, then this card is just not gonna do it. Totems are very strange. They don't really have any kind of support with them together. There's not a card where suddenly like your 4 totems do an extra effect or anything. Flame Totem got nerfed, but was like the only real totem that like had some synergy with that. Of course there is upsides, because hey guys, you know what is a totem? Amalgam is a totem. Manatite Totem is a totem. So there is like some kind of cheating synergy on that as well, that you can suddenly play Amalgam on 3, play this weapon on 4, and you got another Amalgam. It's actually pretty okay in that way. If that will just make up for a deck in general, I'm not so very sure about. But it's gonna be a card that if there will be like something more beneficial with the totems, I think will be getting played. But for me, I kind of think this is like a 2-star card yet. Not so good. Warwick or Wall Kick Master. 2 mana 1/2. Whenever you play a combo card, add a random combo card to your hand. 2 mana 1/2 is like a little bit weak in stat line, but whenever you play a combo card, add a random combo card to your hand. Combo cards, there are not that many combo cards, so it's kind of quite consistent in the way what you can get there. There are quite a few that are bad, but most of the combo cards are kind of good. So it is quite beneficial. I am not sure if add a random combo card is like a mechanic that Rogue really wants to play. The Rogue really seems to go to either the direction of like get random cards from your opponent's class or play very strong cards itself with Battle Cries. It doesn't fit in anything in this way, so I'm a little bit worried about this card, that it just doesn't have like an archetype where it fits in, and that might just be a bit of the annoying part, because the card itself is not like very strong. So I don't think the card is gonna see that much play in current Rogue decks. It's a 2-star. Another card is that fits in a Rogue now is the Hooked Scimitar. 3 mana 2/2 combo, gain 2 attack. 3 mana 2/2 is a little bit of a weak stat line, but it can become like Waggle Pick stat line once you are using it as the combo, and obviously you are gonna use this card mainly for the combo. It's a card that you can even like coin out at turn 2 and you set up a 4/2 weapon. So especially in metas where 4 health is quite relevant, and it is a little bit of a meta where it is like 3 health, 4 health, what is like the magical number. You clear a lot of minions on 3 and 4 health. I think it can be like in Rogue there is a lot of minions with 3 health mainly that are coming out. The Blink Fox, the Technicians, or you have like the Life Drinkers. In Warrior it's more about like maybe Dynomedics, but Zilliax it's a little bit more like flexible. But it can be like very strong. 4/2 as long as Rogue can play with its life, but that's what the weapons are kind of about. It can become very good. I would say it's a 3-star card, and I think there is potential for this to like in some decks fit like a more aggressive Rogue archetype very well. Next up, Tortollan Pilgrim. 8 mana 5/5, a battle cry, discover a copy of a spell in your deck and cast it with random targets. It's a very interesting way, as the card isn't discover a copy of a spell in your deck and cast it with random targets. Obviously, you can play a little bit with this. You can play it with, like, let's say a Flame Strike or a Blizzard, and you don't really get wrecked at all by the random target effect. So it's a very strong, like, removal with a body card. You play your Flame Strike that you kind of wanted to play from your deck or in your deck, and so you still have like a very solid body. And that's, I think, how you mainly want to play the card. You want to just play it in like a more control mage, use it as like in a lot of removal deck, and use it as like an extra card that first you remove the board and you summon a minion. There's very interesting synergy now as well, because there's some really broken card, of course, in Mage. The new card where you can cast 10 random spells. So it's a Yogg that you can now play on turn 8, guys. And that's super powerful. So what I also think about this card is you can maybe just play like your mid-rangey mage deck with a lot of minions. You don't play many spells, and you can use this card as your Yogg. It's just an 8 mana Yogg with 10 spells. Who doesn't like that? So I think this card is actually, just because of the potential and it being in Mage, actually a very solid, very strong card. And I might be making like a mid-range Mage deck more of a playable deck, even in the current, let's say, Conjure's Calling Mage. I can even see like you can consider this in the more minion-heavy version with Book of Spectres. So it's a very interesting card. I will definitely say it's a 3-star card, and it might even be better, to be honest. Actually, also with Power of Creation. Let's rate it to 3.5. With Power of Creation, it's also so good, guys. Card has a lot of potential in Mage. Mogu Cultist, guys. Now we are getting to the very interesting card here. The 1 mana 1/1 Mogu Cultist. If you have a board full of Mogu Cultist, sacrifice them all and summon High Keeper Ra. And High Keeper Ra is an 20/20, deal 20 damage to everything. So, or to your opponent. Very, very interesting card. The only problem is, how do you even get a full board of Mogu Cultists? I have no really great idea. There might be actually some deck viable. I haven't thought much about it, but you kind of need to like see if you can like play this card with an Echo. Like the only thing that comes in my mind is like the Rogue scheme, where you like just drop a lot of Mogu Cultists in your deck and then you try to draw them all in some way. Maybe with Glinda there's like you can get already very far, but how are you gonna do it? Tuck for Rogue is actually a card that has like potential because you get a full hand maybe of Mogu Cultists when you shuffle. So there is like some good potential, and I guess we will see if it works. It's a little bit of the meme card, guys. If I have to rate it, I probably have to rate it 1 star because I don't see it work. But hey, for the memes, guys, that is what matters, right? Who cares about the stars? Memes is what matters. Deceased Vulture here joining in, actually. Vulture, 4 mana 3/5. A Warlock card. After your hero takes damage on your turn, summon a random 3-cost minion. It's a little bit comparable in a way to Vexcrow, as it is like a card that like works very the same as a 4-drop. But what is very nice about this card, it has like some really good synergy already with the hero power. Suddenly you can at turn 6 just play this and use your hero power, and you make yourself a 4 mana 3/5 and a random 3-drop minion for turn 6 by drawing a card. So very strong, the way it already interacts with the hero power of Warlock. Very strong as well with, let's say, like a Flame Imp or like any card that summons stuff and that then deals a little bit of damage to yourself. Very strong. I think it has the potential to be like Thunderhead power level in a way of how strong this card is. This card can just carry a new Warlock archetype, or it can make like a maybe Zoo archetype a bit more mid-range, but be very, very good. This card is very strong card. You're gonna see it a lot. And, well, Warlock is very weak at the moment, and it doesn't see much play. But with this card in it, guys, I give it a lot of potential. I think this is a very, very strong card. It has like an incredibly effect The stat line is very good of the card. So I definitely give this card 4 stars. It's a super good card. You're gonna see it play, and it will definitely also be a big part of like Warlock going a bit more mid-range in my opinion. Beast archetype might not matter too much, I think, but a very strong card. Very strong. Next up is Nelerset Ritualist. Nelerset Ritualist is a 2 mana 2/3 battlecry. Restore the minions next to it to full health. Also a very interesting card. It is already, again, a very good stat line on itself. Like, it's just a 2 mana 2/3. And what is kind of a little bit surprising is, in this expansion, the cards that are like coming out, they are all seem to have like very good effects, but the stat line of the cards is also already very good. 2 mana 2/3 is very nice, and I think it has like potential to be a very good card, as it is like a super strong heal effect. The first initiatives are, of course, for me, like thinking about Priest, where this can work in. I am not sure if I like this card much for Priest, because I think it is a very... Priest has like Circle of Healing, for example, what I think is just better. This card is super good, don't think about it wrong, but Circle of Healing in Priest is just so nice in the way of it healing, and I don't think that this one does it that much better, so it might not be really seen much there in like a Priest archetype, but in like a lot of like, let's say Healed Root, or let's just say mid-range decks that just like it, this card is probably going to be very good in Arena. I cannot see this card not being picked in Arena. It has to be like the biggest carry in these kind of grindy games. We don't have a grindy meta in Standard at the moment, so I don't see this fitting in that at all, but the card is like very good itself. So definitely a 3-star card. Next up is Into the Fray, and this is a warrior spell. Give all taunt minions in your hand +2/+2. Wow. 1 mana, give all minions in your hand +2/+2. Obviously, it's a deck that you want to play like in a Taunt Warrior, and Taunt Warrior hasn't been really around, mainly because there are just not enough good taunts. There are a few good taunts coming in this meta. We will go over some more taunts soon, and then you will see like some very good taunts, and more Stonehill Defender card comes back. But yeah, like it's a very cheap card for 1 mana, so it should be very considerable already for that. Already with like cards like Zilliax, it has like very good synergy, but you for sure want to play this card a little bit more to have like a little bit more like in buff cards in your deck. I don't know if this card is going to see play, mainly because like, is Taunt Warrior going to be a real archetype? Like, I don't know. Mechs are pretty good in Warrior, guys. Do you think this card is not going to break Mech Warrior down and suddenly let Taunt Warrior be better? So the card itself is very good. It's just not fitting anywhere, in my opinion, at the moment. Hand buff cards have always used to be a little bit of a clunky thing, because yeah, it's great when it works, but it's not a real win condition in a lot of matchups, so it has its weakness as well. I would say it's a 2.5 star card in a way, so the card is like fine, but it needs like good taunts to make it work. Anubisath Warbringer is the new big card here in the expansion. A 9 mana 9/6, very reminding me on Anuborak, what had the same stat line on of the card. And Death Rattle, give all minions in your hand +3/+3. Okay, and this is a nice example, guys, of a card that I think is just bad. It's a 9 mana card with Death Rattle. When 9 mana cards are Death Rattle and not like Battle Cry, Taunt, or anything of these kind of like faster mechanics, I'm already very worried. Then I see the stat line, I'm even more worried. Then I see the effect and it's a hand buff card, and I'm like, wait, we made this card even more slower. So everything about this card is like just not what I want to see of a 9 mana card. It's like expensive, it's slow, it has a Death Rattle, and the Death Rattle is like not really changing the game in like an incredible way. So it's not a card you're gonna see play much. Obviously, there are ways you can like maybe cheat in some way. Like the Rogue Legendary is great. Let's say you make this a 1 mana 1/1 and suddenly it becomes quite a good card. But these are like very niche situations, and in Standard it's just not making the cut. Sure, guys, it's an arena card. It's a high value card, so it works there okay. But the card itself, you don't want to... There are better cards you just want to play. And I'm going to give it a 1 star. Sorry. Anubisath Warbringer. Infested Goblin. 3 mana 2/3. Taunt Death Rattle at 2 1/1 scrubs with Taunt to your hand. 3 mana 2/3 is always a little bit of a like 2 mana stat line, I would say, but you pay 1 more, and for that you get a Death Rattle of 2 1/1 scrubs. This is a good example of like a card that maybe like can work in that warrior archetype where the Taunt Warrior, suddenly you play this, the 1/1 scrubs might become 3/3 scrubs, and pretty okay in that way. Still wondering, guys, what the warrior quest will be. Will the warrior quest be something about Taunt? That is like the big question. But is for me like, yes, this Taunt thing is really cool, but what is going to be your win condition? Just building a wall doesn't always work. You kind of need some big swing as well yourself. And still thinking if there is like things you can do with that. I think it's like pretty okay. Oh, the warrior quest just got revealed, guys. I actually really need to take a look at that because it's so impactful. I'm gonna take a look at that first. There are more cards coming up like this. I need to know the warrior quest. Well, that has nothing to do with Taunt. So these Taunt warrior cards, guys, might not be the greatest. Attack 5 times with your hero. Reward Unerupt Core. Budget Dr. Boom. Hero power. Attack 5 times with your hero. So you attack 5 times with your weapon. With like 2 weapons. And then you get 2 mana 4/3. It's not bad. Mid-range. You need mid-range warrior for this, guys. We will get over this soon again. There's potential with this quest, but it's not a Taunt warrior quest, and that's kind of what mattered for me mainly for here. So yeah, solid all around card. Might see some play, but we'll see in which kind of archetypes. Next up, Frigid Flunky. What a beautiful art has this card, doesn't it, chat? I like it. 2 mana 2/2. Taunt. Battle Cry. Discover a Taunt minion. Well, that's very good, guys. So you already start here the game with a 2 mana 2/2. What is an very nice, especially 2 mana 2/2 Taunt is already very good. It's actually just the grunt, but then like this is just a power creep as it is like discover a Taunt minion. So very good in that way, and discover a Taunt minion just is like very strong. It really reminds me on Stonehill Defender, what was a 3 mana card. It Taunt itself, discover a Taunt minion. This one is exactly almost the same, except that it's 1 mana cheaper and having a little bit of a less defensive stat line. Very, very strong card. I definitely think this is gonna see play in like a mid-rangey warrior deck if that becomes an archetype. Obviously, it doesn't fit in the whole mech warrior deck that well, but maybe there is like options, especially if like there is like still something gonna happen maybe to like the warrior archetype in general itself. There is like a lot of possibilities. I think it is like it should get some play. The card is very nice. It's very flexible. You get a random Zilliax, get a random other Taunt. Class Taunts are normally much better. So I really like this card. I will definitely rate this card as like a 3-star card at least. I would say 3.5 at least. Very nice card. If it is gonna fit any archetype, we have to see. Warrior is so strong. The Boom Warrior, the Mech Warrior, the Control Warrior, Mech Warrior. It's all so strong that any warrior card that just comes out that is not a mech at this point, I'm just worried if it will see play just because of the power level. So yeah, we'll have to see, but it's a very strong card itself. In a lot of other classes, you will play this every time.